Recording is in progress.
It is 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Monday, June 3rd, 2024, calling our meeting to order. First up, roll call.
Val Wright,
Here.
Susan Brownell,
Here.
Gretchen Ross,
Here.
Chris Castillo.
Here.
Eric Friend.
Here.
All are present.
1.2, approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Trustee Brownell.
Here.
Aye. Trustee Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Castillo.
Aye.
Trustee Friend.
Aye.
And Trustee Wright.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
1.3, public comment for closed session items. Seeing that there is no one, we are closed. We are closing open session, moving to closed. Tongue-tied there. Okay, we are reconvening the open session at 6:31. 3.1, pledge of allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Distracting.
3.2 is report on closed session agenda items.
Nothing to report out.
Public input, 4.1, correspondence. There is one letter you want to talk about.
Just really quickly, there's a letter from a local agency that's referred to as Gala, who informed the board addressed to President Carrie Friend that they deemed Cayucas Elementary School District a safe and inclusive place for all children. And I don't know their process in figuring that out. We received it and.
Yeah, I saw the letter. I
Thank you.
was wondering. Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, 4.2, public comment. So we do have.
Right. Susan Matthias.
It won't be loud in here, it's at home on the computer. It won't be loud in the room, it's loud on the computer.
So you be loud for Jack.
All right.
Cayucas Elementary School Board and Superintendent Gaviola. I am here tonight as a representative of the Cayucas Educational Foundation. It was a little over a year ago that the CEF wrote a letter and spoke to you at a board meeting about working with you to honor deceased CEF board members. Originally, we had envisioned honoring these members with a tree, a plaque, or a decorative brick. Superintendent Gaviola was very supportive of our idea, but thought it would be nice to take a step further by honoring past staff, members of the community, and service organizations who contributed greatly to Cayucas School. We, the Cayucas Educational Foundation, would like to sincerely thank Jen for taking our idea, expanding on it, and taking it to fruition. Her planning and execution of this inaugural event was truly a thing of beauty. I invited a couple who had been very involved in another local school district, and they were amazed at the sense of community they witnessed that evening. Thank you, Jen, for your diligence in making this happen, and thank you, Cayucas School Board, for partnering with us to promote this community-based school.
Very nice. Thank you, Ms. Matthias. Is there anyone else that would like to speak up there? Nope. All right, seeing none, we'll move forward. Approval of minutes, 5.1, regular meeting minutes of May 8th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular minutes.
Well, second.
Any further discussion? Trustee Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Castillo.
Aye.
Trustee Friend.
Aye.
Trustee Wright.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
5.2, special meeting minutes for May 16th, 2024.
I'll make a motion, we pass the special meeting minutes from May 16th.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Trustee Castillo.
Aye.
Trustee Friend.
Aye.
Trustee Wright.
Aye.
Trustee Brownell. Aye. And Trustee Ross.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Presentation 6.1 PTA.
So we have the pleasure to introduce one of, as one of her last acts as president, Alicia Van Fleet, and she's been president of PTA for the last 2 years. She just finished, I mean, really lifting and coordinating almost every aspect of the fun run. And it's just been an honor to work alongside of you. She has 2 wonderful boys who attend our school. So she's stuck with us for quite some time because one of them is a TK student. We're thankful for that. There is a newly elected board that will take place and really take on their roles in July. But I know Alicia will still be a wonderful partner for us. So Alicia Van Fleet.
We've had quite a busy year with PTA. We used to only have 2 fundraisers and like 1 community event. We've increased that. We now have Easter egg hunts. We're gonna do some community movie nights through the summer. We're gonna have a 4th of July booth at the Front Street Fair. We're also gonna do a 4th of July float for the parade. Our fun run was super successful. We used to hire a corporation to come in and do the fun run for us. They would take 40%. So this year our goal was to raise 20,000 to at least exceed what we got donated from them. And we did. We were able to go, I think it was 28,500.
Wow.
Yeah, great, successful campaign. We also created a new updated logo for Spiritwear. And we'll have, I've just got the call that we have 13 boxes. So I will be doing that soon, and there'll be lots of new Caicos Falcon Spiritwear out there on town. So that's about all we have. Oh, and the community movie nights will be June and July. We'll have fundraising, selling food, and candy and popcorn, and so that should be fun. And that's about all I have.
What's gonna be in the booth at the 4th of July?
We're still debating.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
It's a hot
That's what I
topic
was
at the
wondering.
PTA.
It's hard because we can't compete with everybody else who, obviously been on the Front Street Fair for a long time. We're thinking cotton candy because we have a cotton candy machine that we purchased. We're also thinking like lemonade, maybe something easy to sell on top of that, and probably our Spiritwear. But yeah, we've been coming up with ideas and then it's been getting canceled because somebody already does it, or like there's gonna be competition with something else, so.
Fun.
What's
Yeah.
the theme of the float? Do you know that yet?
So the theme this year for the parade is Summer Breeze, makes me feel fine. We have a Falcon cart that we use for the Teacher Appreciation Week. And we're thinking about doing the Falcon flyer, like a radio flyer theme, and taking a trailer and having it like a radio flyer.
Cute.
Yeah, and then having the kids on, scooters, bikes, or whatever.
Oh, sounds fun.
Yeah, I think they'll really enjoy it for sure.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, information discussion, 7.1 board member reports. I'll go first. Attended open house, and before the open house was the presentation that was very well received. It was just a stunning, listening to all the different stories about why people were nominated or what groups was just very encouraging. I attended the play twice, the first time just to enjoy it, and then I have a helping train a service dog, so I wanted to bring Mac to help experience that. He did great at the play. He just sat there. This little girl was throwing popcorn at him, and we got that to stop. But it didn't even faze him, so that was really nice. And I went to the volunteer team. That's it.
Let's see, well, 2 weeks ago, my mother's a retired teacher at Coast Union in Cambria, and she funds scholarships every year that the Retired Teachers Association gives. And she usually tries to fund them for people who are going into education. That's not always possible. It seems like not a lot of people weren't saying they were going to be teachers, but and it's in honor of my father who passed away, who was a teacher here. And so anyway, that was interesting. But probably the more interesting thing was there was a girl from a young lady from Shandon who moved from Mexico in 10th grade and with no English skills. And she got up and had to speak, and she was fine, but she apologized for her English, said she's an ESL student, and she was kind of crying a little bit. She was just really nervous. And anyway, I when I got up, I just explained, like, for my father, he knew Spanish before English. He didn't learn English until he went to school. And so, because he was in World War II, they had the GI Bill, and he went to college and got educated. His older brothers did also. And it changed his life, and ultimately mine. And so that was, it was good to see these students, a 10th grader who moved and was doing great in school and going to college.
That's cool.
So it was a nice day.
I also attended the play, and I have to say, I think that was probably in the top 3 productions I've ever seen here at Cayuga School. And I'm saying that even though neither of my kids were in it. And then the tea was so cute when all the different grades came in to perform for us. And I am really sorry that Mrs. Matthias missed her recorders playing Eye of the Tiger, because that was a highlight. And then I came up, I had a meeting with Jen, and while the farmer's market was going on here, and that was so much fun to watch the kids talking with the farmers about the different fruits and vegetables and the honey and here. And then next week I'm going to finally finish my master's in governance course. So I'll get a little pin. So
I don't have anything to report.
Well, you have an excuse because she is a senior who's graduating in what, 3 days?
Yeah,
So
I'm a little busy.
yes, absolutely.
Thanks for the pass.
Yes.
Your turn.
Having been a drama teacher, I also attended the play. And what impressed me the most is the different age groups that are involved. It's not just one class or one particular group. Putting all those kids together to bring a story is impressive. I was also impressed with one of the lead actors that tried to take the entire show. But I love going to those. I wish we had more.
One thing I would like to piggyback on the play is because I saw it the first night and the second night. And the second night, I saw some things that didn't occur the first night. But the first night, I didn't know they were missing. So how they played it off and just moved along. I'm like, oh, that wasn't last night. It was amazing that you couldn't even tell that they were missing something on the first night. They were so well prepared just to pick up and move on. It was pretty impressive. All right, that's a board member reports. Superintendent reports, 7.2.
Great. So much like you, we've been very busy, obviously, with our student focus. I wanted to make it so that's okay. It's not a big deal. We were gonna introduce you for the last time to 2 of our 8th grade kiddos.
Is on his way.
No, it's fine. Very quickly, a great image for you here. This is our 8th grade class at Yosemite. They just came back last Friday. They had a wonderful time, and just for some of the kids, first time ever camping. And so that was a great experience, and largely in part for Mrs. V, who highly encouraged and supported the children who hadn't had that experience and were new to the school. And
Where did they stay this year?
oh,
I was thinking at the top again.
Okay. I forget. I always mess up the
able to do that
yeah.
ever. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
It's always gonna be the lower one. I always mess up the names of them, but
Pretty
yeah.
flat.
Yes. Yep, that's it. You'll also notice we have a theme of "Oh, the place you'll go." That's because we have our seniors returning who are graduating from Morro Bay and San Luis High and Coast Union and Mission and wherever else. Mission may be a stretch because they've already graduated and done their ceremony, but they're all welcome to come back and do our grad walks. And we're doing kind of a Dr. Seuss theme with that, which is pretty fun. I have a nice little message to our community just because much like Trustee Brownell, our youngest daughter is graduating, and so it's a very busy time. We had our grad walks today, this morning. So I was driving to work telling Mary, I'm barely holding on. And I'm like, I brought grad walks to Paso School 9 years ago. And I used to get these messages from parents saying, this is the worst, best day ever. And I'm like, oh, come on. And then today I was like, oh my gosh, they're right. So it's been a wonderful journey. And we're excited about definitely the next chapter, which is great. We have some images here that the online people will see in behind me of our fun run. It wasn't just a fun run. They also had a fun obstacle course inside. And it was just tremendous to see all the parent participants. We had bubbles, the kid tie-dyed shirts. So everyone had shirts, headbands, and sweatbands for their wrists. I mean, just really a positive time, which I think was just tremendous, really tremendous. And it was a great way to kind of ride into this last week of school. So with that, we have a couple key things. We did have some special eighth grade awards this morning. We obviously have our meeting tonight. The middle school enjoyed today the Golden Falcon trip, the last one they'll have. They went to Boomers in Santa Maria, played the video games, the car rides. We did some new things with our Falcon trip this year. We did a Cal Poly basketball game this year, and lunch, which the kids really like to see. So we're trying to give them some different experiences. And it's been great. All of them have been well received. We will start at eighth grade grad practice. They've started doing some of that in Miss Peterson's class. She's wonderful about that. And really the setup. So we want to thank in advance Martin and Ben and our new member of our team, Manny. And if you walk the campus, you see that they've been really working hard on making it look just stunning. And they'll be working very hard on all the events that we're doing. Then we'll have on Wednesday, our 6 p.m., our graduation for our eighth grade. It will last approximately an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Great ceremony. A couple new things that'll be surprises, which I think will be great. We will have our normal early dismissal that day. Then we will have the coveted kindergarten graduation, singing and just fun. And my favorite part, I think, is just what do you want to be when you grow up? And just the answers are just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And then, of course, we always like to tease them in eighth grade what they say they would like to be too, and that's always fun. Then at noon, promptly around, at 11:45, the seniors will arrive from Morro Bay, San Luis, the local high schools, Coast Union. And then come in, we have some parent volunteers who are starting off with some treats in the auditorium. And then we will have a huge celebration for all of the kids when they come out, really treating them like rock stars. It's going to be great. I would say lastly, we want to thank Rotary. They sponsored our annual speech awards. The speeches this year were fantastic. They did some controversial speeches and then some passionate speeches about things like Godzilla versus Donkey Kong, or not Donkey Kong, King Kong. Sorry, my brother would be appalled that I just made that mistake. To having trans athletes in sports. I mean, so a real variety of speeches, well thought out. Toughest part was obviously choosing the winners of those. So that was fantastic. And then last but not least, I was also going to echo the sentiments of Ms. Matthias saying that it was really a well-attended event, the dedication of the plaque, and just a moment to honor the community. And there's a lot of things that make Cayucas a very special place, but a huge part of that is the partnership with the community. And that's what you really saw that evening, which was great. And it was lovely to have it in the quad as well outside. So that gave us a new opportunity for a place to kind of sit in a collective group because of the physical makeup of that area, and focus in on just for a moment, not things that divide us, but really unite us, which was the school and how many people love and care about the school. So it was wonderful. It was a little overwhelming for me thinking how lucky I am to have this opportunity, honestly, and to feel so loved in that moment. So that was great. And that is our superintendent report. I will talk next superintendent report about some of our summer projects that Liz, Mary, Mel, and the MOT team and I are going to tackle this summer.
All right, 7.3, the LCAP and school plans for student achievement 24-25.
So you're going to notice that the LCAP seems to be on here like 5 times, and we had it last meeting too. So The state of California continues to give us great opportunities to reflect on our planning for local budgeting. Really, we're gonna see different aspects of it. They're all required now to be in the order and agenda they are. So this is only an informational item. The reason being is that it is the first official presentation of the draft LCAP. Then we'll have a public hearing on it. And then next meeting, we'll actually look at the approval of it. So what I was going to do is just quickly hit some of the highlights of the LCAP. You'll notice it's approximately 70 or so pages, so you have some good time, another 2 weeks or so, to look over some of the aspects of it. We have 4 main goals. And in those 4 main goals, you'll see that the first one deals with student success, and it actually really relates to what Trustee Castillo was just talking about, which is that gap that occurs at times with different populations of students, depending on the supports provided. And in this one, it looks at our continued growth and achievement of overall population, but making sure that we don't lower our bar, but we rise and really look at our different subgroups. With that said, probably the most important data around supporting goal 1 and why it's still a relevant goal is good news. Not any subgroup in Cayucas performed at what's called the red level, or the level that needs a lot of help. The red level. We did have 1 student group that performed at the orange level, which was the Hispanic population. Then we had overall students performing at green, and then the highest level is blue, and that was where white students performed. So again, it shows that there's varying needs of populations of students. Oh yeah, I'll pause in just a second. Come on in, honey. I'll introduce you in just 1 second, okay? I'm just gonna wrap up goal 1 and then we'll jump right into it. So what we'll do is, in looking at that, it shows that there's still a continued need and making sure we close that gap. One of those is that a chunk of our Hispanic students are English language learners, still learning the language, but our English language learner numbers are so low that they don't make a significant subgroup. So if you were to say, but where do they perform? We don't report their overall data because it's less than 11, which is a requirement. So we're at 7 right now with English learners. So overall, what that means is that our staff has a dedication to look at not only English language arts and math, but really all subject areas to say, are we meeting the needs of all students and giving lots of on and off ramps? And I really think our model next year with having 2 additional options of gate classes is going to be able to narrow in on those middle school needs and continue to have accelerated growth, but also really get those fine-tuning skills as children develop language skills and perform, which will be great. We still are achieving at a very high level overall, especially compared to the state data. I would imagine that we'll be in the top 1 to 2 schools in the county as well. Those official results will come out in August to September, although we have the individual results now that we've been digging into and excited to look at. So that's been great. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Really quick. Who's the top school?
Um,
Who in the state of California? Who-
I don't know in the state of California.
What
In
about
our
our county?
county and elementary school, it is us.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, last year, but we'll see you this year. We were
I'm
really
wondering about in the
close.
state of California, like who's really outperforming? Is there one that's excelling?
Palo Alto or
Isn't it
Silicon Valley.
Rancho, Santa Fe?
Yeah,
County.
yeah, I don't have that information. I can definitely get it though, especially when the new data comes out for sure.
Well, I could, if you remember. it's not
Yeah,
bad.
no, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Good
both
job.
know, like I go deep into this data dive. I'm
Or
like,
Menlo
ooh.
Park or
We also have a not charter, what am I looking for? Magnet school in San Luis Obispo County, what's it called? In San Luis Obispo, No, not the charter, the magnet school in San Luis Coastal.
Which one would teach?
Teach, thank you. I was like, it's like case, it's 1 syllable, sounds like, no. Teach also performs incredibly high. And so, elementary to elementary, they do a little higher performance, but we have an overall score. So yeah, But we started digging into that data and looking at some of the differences around just the makeup of the school and really trying to look at.
What are
apples to
they
apples.
doing and
Yeah.
what would we be doing to?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so speaking of great students and scores, but this is a great transition. I have a stellar student to introduce. Maddox Lee is our co-ASB president. He is president with Noah Foreman, and he has done a tremendous job this year. He's been involved in almost everything, between sports, and if you saw the play, he was in the play. This would be Mr. Willy Wonka to most of you. We're really gonna miss him next year, and we're excited to see the opportunities that San Luis Obispo High is gonna have with this multi-talented student. So without further ado, why don't you come on up?
Oh, apologize. Sorry. I also want to apologize for the script. It's set up for two people and one person. But
You can talk in different voices.
I don't think I'm good enough for that. But hi, I'm Maddox, and I'm your exiting ASB president. Since our representatives have last spoke with you, the student body has elected a new student government for the 2024 through 2025 school year. Congratulations to incoming President Ella Golding, Vice President Malia Pewitt, Secretary Giovanna Leah, and Treasurer Thad Ridout. Inaugurations will be held next August, as you can expect a smooth and seamless transfer of power. The ASB will return to school early for a long retreat in August, where they will create welcome back to school posters, map out their activities for the year, and plan the welcome back prep rally celebrating cross country, flag football, and volleyball. Last month, we hosted a really fantastic spring fling semi-formal dance in the gym. It was DJ'd by Alyssa Bright, and the ASB Decorations Committee went all out with a beautiful balloon arch and flowery pastel spring cupcakes. We also had our end of year celebration lunch at Hardy Park. We were happy to celebrate our year of many successful events and activities. Thank you so much for your time and for the opportunity to share it with you every month. This is Noah Corbin. Max Lee signing off.
Happy Maddox.
Thank you, that was nice.
Well, it's always hard to follow a student, so back to the LCAP.
You ran everyone off when you started off. I know. She told me he can leave.
Maddox.
The next goal we have in our LCAP is our VAPA goal, which looks at our visual and performing arts, and really looking at all students being involved in visual and performing arts and having access to that, which is wonderful. We believe that visual and performing arts brings another layer of skill and unique abilities. Sometimes it is where a child finds a home, and others it's where it stretches them outside their comfort area, both being really great key things to do with children. So we're really happy about that. Our next one is goal 3, which is our positive school culture and community. So making sure that students are connected, that our school is open and welcoming, and that families feel connected. Last time at our school board meeting, we talked a lot about parent and climate data. And we saw that this was one that we were really celebrating around having people feel like their voice matters and that they are connected to our school, which is great. And then lastly, goal 4, it's near and dear to my heart, which is every single student here will be prepared for success in college and career readiness. So we have the unique opportunity here to be so small that we can look at individual skills and be able to give feedback and coach. It was quite interesting. Speaking of that, the mock interview is one of the actions that every 8th grader prepares an interest letter, a resume, and then actually goes into a mock interview. And we have community members. Chris was one of them. And Gretchen, you did it this year too, right?
No, I did it
Oh,
last
the year
year.
before. Okay, yes. To come in and interview students, and then I go into the class afterwards and give them some global feedback, as well as I actually edit through their documents that they turn in versus their teacher, just because it's an outside level. So it was interesting because some of the feedback they took, like, wait, Miss Cabiola, and I said, I understand your perception. So we had this long conversation of like what they believe versus what the employer is looking at. And sometimes it's great that you think that, but this is the person that has actually all the control in the relationship when they're hiring you, which was kind of an eye opener for them, but still great. Overall, the LCAP contributes $135,000 roughly to the district. It funds one key action of all the actions that you're going to see in these 70 pages, which is our paraeducators, and it funds about half of them. So it doesn't even fund their full salaries. We do have currently we have one para in each elementary class, which helps support the varying needs of students for acceleration and remediation. And they do a phenomenal job. Our paras are second to none, really, just high quality professionals. From the design of the LCAP, much like it has been designed before, you have the goal, and then you have the actions that will help you achieve that goal. And then you have metrics that will measure that goal. And that's really the layout that you'll see in this document. And those metrics include state testing, parent survey data. They include our measures that we do locally, things like DIBELS, looking at literacy skills, those type of things. And that kind of drives our LCAP throughout the year, as well as getting partner input from parents and staff and students, which is great. One of the areas that I'm digging into personally with Liz is the changing, and I know if anyone's had a middle schooler, you know this to be true, and so I know if I find it's like the magic, it's the magic like potion, which is that we have a significantly different climate representation from 6th grade versus 8th grade. 6th grade is all in everything. I want to volunteer. I want to be part of that. I think this is the best place in the world. Can I stay longer? What else can I do? And it's powerful, and you want to be able to keep that momentum going. And you do with some students, but quickly into 7th and 8th grade, you see a flip that happens where that is not the majority of students that's demonstrating that eagerness and motivation, self-motivation and drive. And so I'm really trying to get down to the nitty-gritty of what can we do to keep kids excited, involved, and wanting to be connected and volunteering and all of those things. So, part of our switches within our middle school master schedule, I think will feed into that. There's more personal connection, some variation for kids, but really just trying to get to that point of solving what is it that gets. And it's not even disdain for school, because that you can work with. It's kind of indifference. And you don't want to go into high school that way. And it's not in anywhere an epidemic, because we have great kids, and I'm sure anyone else at a school would be like, they're really involved. What are you talking about? But there's a marked difference between that overall kind of feeling. So we're jumping into that and see what we can do.
Just a little quick comment.
Yeah.
Do you think it's biological? Like it's just where they're at biologically?
I do think some of it's up, yes. Yeah, it is. I think it has to do with heightened insecurities that occur and all these other things that happen, and
The self-awareness.
of course, yes. So what do we do? Like so how do we nurture that? What do we do to help just make them feel more safe or connected to be themselves, whatever it may be. So we'll look at it and see where we're at and go from there. And then really the next piece of the LCAP is we'll have a public hearing today. The board will have another 2 weeks to look at the LCAP. We'll bring it back at our next meeting on the 18th of June. Highlight a couple other key areas so that you're getting a digestible amount. And then hopefully get it approved and move forward with the implementation of making a difference for kids.
Thank you for spoon feeding us.
And we're ready for more for the budget presentation, 24-25.
Can you spoon feed this one too?
Yeah, so I'm going to concentrate on the one pager. So the one pager is a light blue sheet. And I will show you guys, so you have it in front of you as well.
It's in.
There's two of them. There's the multi-year, which is this one,
No.
but there is also one other Rory attachment.
It's a light
Yeah.
blue.
Yes, that's it. Yep. Perfect. So the reason I did a one pager is, it looks like this on the heading. Is I kind of thought to myself, if a community member were to listen to this engaging presentation, what were the key things I'd like them to take away about our current budget and really the heart of what we're doing in our budget? And then we'll get into a little bit of the multi-year projections and some of the challenges, although this does highlight it too. So if you'll notice here, let's see if I can find just. Okay. So if you'll notice here, unfortunately, unlike my normal disposition, I kind of lead with a challenge. I usually like to sugarcoat things, but it really does tell the story of our budget. And that is that we've had a significant change within our budget. So as you guys know, the budgetary cycle, and Gretchen, you could teach it because I know it's a big topic in master and governance, but the budgetary cycle, we start in July with this predicted budget, right, that is occurring. While we do that in July, we lead into September, which is closing out our books from the previous year, which is our unaudited actuals. That's where any monies kind of fall out of the budget and we get that first kind of balance that's going to move forward. It helps us say, hey, that budget you guys designed in May, was it accurate now that we're going to look at September, October, when we look at what's called the first interim? And then also you have happening is this huge, obviously, state of California that is either going to be supporting within their budget and the predictions of their also property tax or income tax, those type of things. Then you throw in one other unique aspect this year, and every 4 years is a major national election. So lots of things are happening right now. A lot of promises are being made around our budget, and things may not all pan out, right? That have to deal specifically with funding models that are happening. Lots of fighting right now when you look at the governor and some major agencies, which include California School Boards Association and AXA, which is the Administrators Association. But they're getting to a compromise now, but still all on this idea of how monies are going to fall in as we go into a high season of people traveling and taxes and those type of things. I will say we have a nice look at right now in property taxes for Cayucas, particularly it's our main funding source, and our market here is really high in the sense of things are moving quickly and they're selling at a high rate. So we do get our property tax updates twice a year, and that will help us if we need to change our course when it comes to funding. With all of that, we can do the best we can, and then we have situations that occur. In our case, we have some major changes in what's called our contribution to special education. So our contribution to special education is increasing by roughly $500,000 due to some specialized placements of students. So based on their individual education plan, they've been placed in specialized programs. There's students that live in this area in Cayucas proper, and there are students, and these are the needs of those students. That $500,000 is a shift of 5% of our overall budget. So when you think about every year, everything is more expensive, right? Teachers go up step and column, classified staff go down, which means their pay is almost always increasing because of the structure of education. Increased cost contribution in healthcare, increased cost contribution in retirement, and then the overall running of a business, right? The electricity and water, all those things are increasing. So there's so much a budget can absorb, but that additional $500,000 that came in the last 5.5 weeks of our school year was a lot to sort of steer. So with Jenny, our fiscal agent at San Luis Obispo County Office of Ed, Mary, Melanie, and Liz, we really got to work and looked at what are adjustments that we could make in our budget as early as a week.
$500,000?
Yeah, as early as 10 days ago, our multi-year projection had our third year out at -11 and the second year out at 0 for our reserves. And so we really had to say, obviously, that's not okay. I was like, gosh, I'm really good at making those balloon arches. Maybe that's my next business. So we went literally line by line in our budget. I will say another, just a side note, one thing that hasn't helped our system is, we've had some major changes within our fiscal support too. So Scott's last year here, we had a fiscal agent from the county. Last year, we had a fiscal agent from the county, and then this year we've had a different fiscal agent from the county. Not saying that any three of these aren't wonderfully talented people, but as someone changing like that is quite difficult for the nuances of the budget and the predictability of, hey, did we budget too high our contribution to the cafeteria or not, and those type of things. So I'm excited to have Jenny and have Jenny for year 2, because a lot of those will get a lot more comfortable as we go on. That's not largely due to retirements that have occurred and then a difficulty of filling a job really at the county level. It's just, it is what it is. So with that, we've made some adjustments. One of those adjustments is we looked at a reduction in some contributions. So we had a very large contribution to materials and supplies, and we're reducing that drastically. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to be buying paper and books and all of those things, but it was very large. So we cut it in half, honestly, about $65,000 less. If it's something that becomes a concern, of course, we can address it, but it is something that looked like a good opportunity. We also reduced encumbered amount of $38,000 on outside contracts. So you can start seeing that, okay, well, gosh, that's $100,000 right there. And so we were trying to combat this extra $500,000 contribution to special
Is
education.
that annual?
It is, next year it's 500,000, and then in all likelihood, it will go down about 200,000 the following year out. So it'll be a 1 year.
When there's 1 year, 5.
Quite good.
Yeah, that would be very helpful, for sure. So we do just have to, there is part of it that we have to get through next year. But there are also rising costs as we go on, so there's important things to look at. Additionally, we looked at funding. So we have an arts education grant. So we did some shifting of funding. So we're funding half our art teacher in that. So that was helpful. That shifted another $50,000 out of the general fund. We had built up over $100,000 in deferred maintenance. We shifted 50,000 of that into general fund balance. So that gave us, so you can start to see, we looked at every single aspect of the budget. And then with that, we still had to do what's number 3 on this important budgetary facts, which is make the commitment that if our unaudited actuals don't flutter out more cash out of those unspent accounts, that we will be coming back to you in October, November with a budget reduction plan that could be as high as 300,000. And that the current multi-year projections that you will see when we're sitting at 20% in the 2 out years has a reduction of that 300,000. So I need to say that again. So there's no smoke and mirrors here. I have no smoke and mirrors.
So the 18.48%.
The 18.48% has no reduction. It's actually next year's amount. It's next year's reserve.
Okay,
Then the following year out, 21% has a $300,000 reduction in that budget.
okay,
And so does, which is not an additional 300,000 the next year. It's that one-time reduction that's carried on. If I had my crystal ball perfectly aligned, and this will be good because it's recorded, so we'll see. But I would say that when it all push comes to shove, when we close our books, bless you, we'll be looking at closer to like 160. That's my best prediction of what we're gonna have to cut. But right now, if we want to be at the numbers that you're projected now, we're looking at 300,000. Why did I go so high? Well, partially because originally when we looked at it, the 300,000 actually put our year 3 at 15%. So it was right at what the board has said per a resolution that they wanted the reserve at. And then as we made a couple other adjustments, it positively impacted our budget such that So it's important for us to be conservative in our measure, to know that that would be the plan, so that, I mean, if you think about it, what this has taught us, although frustrating to have 3 very expensive placements in a matter of 5.5 weeks, it's taught us the volatility of a small district budget and how quickly something could shift. I mean, it's only 3 students. With that said, that's kind of where we're at. Obviously, any budget reduction will come back to the board. So we'll see it, we'll watch the books close, we'll get our solid unaudited actuals. Then I will bring that back to the board so that, with many options actually, for the following year out reductions. So everything we do now is a year out plan, because that's how our budgets are made. It's also how notifications, if we're reducing any percentage of contracts need to be done, all of that a year out. And we all know a lot can change in a year for sure. Really quickly, if you could put up the multi-year projection. Remember, you're not voting on this today. Today is just information, and it gives you a nice grounding to spend some good time with the narrative account that's in here. And we can sit down anytime next week too and dive into these. But with that, this is what your multi-year projection really looks at. So I'm gonna come up here really quickly, because I want to just give you some of the key areas I look for.
Which page are you on?
This is a separate one, yeah, right behind it, yeah. We pulled it, it's also in there, but we pulled it out just so you don't have to dig for it. So this is in the red, our unaudited actuals last year and what we had predicted in looking at where we're at, right? This is looking at, so this is our current year. You'll notice right here is the key number. It's the contribution is at 230,000, and that's for the special education contribution and other special programs. You'll notice that's what you see jump for next year's budget, which
When
is
you say
in
contribution, where's that coming from?
the general fund.
Okay.
Yep, it's saying like that program doesn't support itself and we have to contribute to it. It's the big argument with special education and only being partially funded, obviously, very partially funded. So the next one you see right here is this is next year, as in 1 month from now, July 1. Our contribution and increase is all the way up to 729,000, which is significant. And then you'll see that dip, which is what Val asked about. The following year, it's down to 548,000, but also more than double where we're at this year. So you'll see that continue on, depending on our student programs and what occurs. You'll also see what's taking effect here, which was the double whammy, is any last federal dollars, you're gonna see this big reduction occur. So right now, this here is a revenue. So the top one is supposed to be all positive unless it's in red with a negative number. So you'll notice here, like here we have federal monies. We were getting $200,000. Next year, we're getting 100,000. Boom. So we're increasing $500,000 in cost contribution. And now we have less $100,000 in federal monies. You'll also notice the same thing occurs with other state dollars. We had 463,000. Now we're down to 316, another $150,000. So it's a perfect storm of massive increases in costs with less money. But the good news is that with our plan, we're sitting next year at 18% reserve. And the following two, as long as we make the appropriate cuts after our unaudited actuals at 21 for our reserve. So take some time. You're not supposed to be, I feel like Chris might have a question, but take some time between now with 2 weeks. I've been living in these numbers as well as Jenny and Mel and Liz and Mary. So take some time to let it marinate, to ask questions, to flag something. I'm not saying I'm gonna have all the answers, but I absolutely can find them out. And you may find something that I didn't find in all of our digging, which would be also helpful because we're in this together. But you'll just start to see those type of things as you occur, and it makes a lot of sense when you have roughly $300,000 less money and $500,000 more in costs, which would be a negative $800,000. That's not even counting step and column, increase in healthcare, stirs and PERS, retirement increases, electrical increases, water increases. So you can see, but the good news, that sounds all terrible. The good news is we're presenting to you a solid, positive, certified budget that the county is completely comfortable with. So there's no shaky legs on this at all. It's absolutely doable.
And I assume the federal dollars discount is because of the change in Title I students?
The federal dollars is actually the last bit of ESSER money.
Okay.
Yeah, federal supplemental monies that have come in, and the state has to do also with grants that they had originally proposed coming in, which they said, oh, just kidding, we're not gonna bring those. So what the state has done, and this has frustrated many people in education, and again, so much of it has to do just with the political nature of having major elections right now, but is instead of cutting programs, they're just not funding programs that they said they were going to fund, or you got half of the allotment of the fund, but not the second. And they gave good notice, I will say at least that, which is last year we were notified early on, hey, you're getting the first and there's supposed to be a second endowment of like $80,000. So like it's booked, but hey, get it. We're not actually gonna give it to you. So then it falls out of the books. So you're like, oh, thanks. There'll be some positive things happening here. Currently, on our other state funds, we have our career technical education grant booked at $54,000. We received it this year, so it's the year it's booked. We haven't spent $1 of it. It actually is for next year. So it's not even in next year's budget yet because it's booked. We have to close out that line and then it will carry on to the next year. So some things are gonna happen in September that will make things more positive. And that's where I'm saying, we're conservatively saying 300,000, but I think we're gonna be solid. But again, someone else could move in, something could happen, and it's better to be safe than sorry because we want to protect the ability to have this special, awesome school in this community. So, homework is you have a narrative that's attached to this. That's awesome. It's the beginning part of this tabbed book. I think Jenny's narrative is really easy to understand. It looks at all the funds. So the way it's organized in the very beginning is it'll have a header, like for example, Fund 13. And it'll say cafeteria fund, and then it will tell you just a short paragraph of what historically we're doing and what we budgeted for that fund. So anything that you're reading at that flags that, then you say, okay, wait a second, I wanna know more about this. Those are the ones that we can sit down with, quick an email or text, whatever it may be. Or if you love spreadsheets like Gretchen, you can actually tab and go, well, let me know about this Fund 13. I'm gonna look back on this chart and see what it actually is. I'm more of a narrative person. I think it's the history English person in me, but we can jump into all that together. It's gonna be, it's been great actually. I take every opportunity to learn and grow as just that next step and doing the things we need to do for our kids. And so that's really where we're at with the budget.
Good work. Wow. Okay, so now we are going to adjourn to public hearing. All right. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna read the first one. So, convene a public hearing on the matter of the proposed local control accountability plan. So then we say before adopting the LCAP or annual update, before the governing board of the school district adopts the LCAP or annual update, the following must occur. The superintendent shall present the LCAP to the Parent Advisory Committee or ELAP committee. The superintendent must respond in writing to comments received from the Parent Advisory Committee and English Learner Committee. We've done both of these by April 15th, actually. The superintendent must notify members of the public of the opportunity to submit written comments, which we did in posting the agenda as well as publicizing through community emails, newsletters, and social media. Okay, and then you'll notice that printed notifications are no longer required. We will review the plan of the school district, which obviously we're good with. The governing board of the school district must hold at least one public hearing, which is right now, to talk about the recommendations or comments from the public regarding the LCAP, and that notification must be done 72 hours prior, which we have done. The rest is the summary of the LCAP, which we've talked about, and we'll highlight a little bit more before we ask the board to approve next meeting.
That second bullet, why does it say June 29?
Oh, that's a good point. That's, should be June 18th. Yeah, yeah. I should have caught that. I think that was, yeah,
That's the next meeting.
you got it. Yep, the next meeting. Thank you.
Welcome.
I know.
Right.
So at this point, we have an open public hearing and we can hear input from the LCAP from the public.
Seeing that there's no one, we will adjourn the public hearing on the matter of the LCAP. Now we will open the public hearing on the matter of the proposed 24-25 CESD budget. Let's give it back to you.
Great. The school district governing boards are required to adopt a budget for the upcoming school year by June 30th of the current year. We must hold a public hearing for the proposed budget and proposed LCAP prior to the board meeting in which they are adopted. So our LCAP and budget are hopefully going to be adopted at the next board meeting. So this is the public hearing that occurs. And it is just June 18th, not June 18th. So sorry about that. We'll take that little June off. So currently, we are in the open public meeting. You'll notice that one of the key areas that must be emphasized in the public or prior to the public hearing information about the budget is the minimum reserve requirement, which is what we've talked about. Now, you'll notice here when this was published, it has our predicted reserves. They have been updated since then. So this has the 16%, 18 and 18. You have the most current information as we ran our budget, which is at 18, 21 and 21. So that would be something we would clarify with the budget. Do I have the old one? Do you have the new update?
Mine says 18, 21. and
Oh,
21.
perfect. These are my notes. Great. I'm glad you have that.
Mine
Awesome.
does not. Mine says the
Okay.
16, 18, 18.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the one that's published online has the updated version. That's what was published.
Perfect.
So, sorry about that confusion. So the community does have the accurate information, and that was what was sent in the link. Great. Okay, and then attached to this public hearing is the budget summary sheet, our development, and the multi-year projections.
Open the public meeting for input. Seeing none, we'll adjourn the public hearing on the matter of the 24-25 budget. And now we will reconvene the Clayton Elementary School District regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Item 10 is a consent agenda. 10.1, approval of the consent agenda.
Staff recommends approval of the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Trustee Castillo.
I,
Trustee Brown. Trustee Wright.
Aye.
Trustee Brown, and Trustee Ross.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, action section 11.1, 2024 LCAP annual update for the 23-24 school year.
So the state of California, in all their wisdom, thought it would be great for us to write an annual update while we were writing our new LCAP, in addition to the self-reflection that's later on this agenda. So the document that you have here is the annual update because it was a 3-year plan. And in that 3-year plan, basically we had to take what Scott's original plan was and then the last 2 years and talk about, did we do all the things we set forth to do and how did they help and measure kids' progress, whether that's their connectivity, their academic achievement, those type of things. So the only thing that I would say with this is that there's some great consistency within this review and then launching into your new LCAP. But what you have attached here is our annual update. Some things that are really cool to see within here is when you look at each goal and there's a reflection piece and it will show you all the things that we've done in that area. So like 100% of 8th grade students, completing mock interviews, or 100% of students having one-on-one meetings, actually, I think it was 97% of students having one-on-one counselor meetings with transition to high school. So that was all for goal 4. So it actually looked at all the things we said we were gonna do, and then we had to show and verify through metrics what we actually did. And then in turn, talk about the impact of that. So, staff recommends approval of the annual update. And we're really proud of the staff's work. For example, the counselors, the teachers, the paraeducators, all working, for the actions for students that are articulated in this LCAP.
I make a motion that we approve the 2024 LCAP annual update.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Trustee Brett. Trustee Wright.
Aye.
Trustee Brown. Aye. Trustee Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Liston.
All right.
Motion passes 5.
11.2 workplace violence prevention program.
So the state of California passed a Senate bill, which is Senate Bill 553. So the short history of this is that a few years back, they passed a bill in the healthcare industry in California that looked at workplace violence. So what they found is that in a lot of healthcare practices, employees were being injured, and that they were being injured by, there's the big 4 that are articulated in here. People coming or serving, like for example, our population, our students is who we serve, but theirs would be patients. So when you think of certain healthcare aspects, there's some violent tendencies that might occur, depending on what type of healthcare placement someone's in. There's also a rise in workplace violence when it comes to, unfortunately, as we all know, people who are not employees, who are in the area, who enter a facility and hurt people in that facility. And then there is a rise in workplace exchange between employee and employee, or supervisor and employee. So in the healthcare industry in California, they passed the requirement and training of what was called the Workplace Violence Protection Plan. Then what they started to do is look at measures around that and felt that it was useful. And so then they passed it for every public entity in California with a more than, oh gosh, I forgot the number, but we're part of it. I think it's 10 employees who's a public agency. So every school district in California now is presenting and writing what's called a Workplace Violence Protection Plan. It's in addition to your safety plan, and it's really particularly related to employee exchange. The big heavy on this will be the training. So Dr. Brescia at the county office level has commissioned Lozano Smith to do the training for all staff for workplace violence protection, and also paid for the attorneys to train a designee in that area. So like usually it's an HR person, for us it's me. And so that we're going through that process. They have a lot of particulars around it. So one of the things you have to be very mindful of is, and this is the part that people get kind of critical of this. It's the intention, of course, is good. We want people to be safe at work, right? And feel supported. But these requirements around the logs, the plan, how things are housed, all of that feels like for a lot of agencies, it's kind of gotchas. As you know, people are auditing, do you have your workplace violence prevention plan? Is it posted? Is the log posted? If I checked your log, do you record every month if you've had it? Like, so there's a little bit of scrutiny around that feels less than intentional for the purpose of safety, but we are abiding by that. This is our workplace violence prevention plan. Sean Anderson is helping create a webpage with me to house all of the required documents, and we will have all of our staff trained in August in regards to that. This all has to be in place by July 1. And that's when the audits are supposed to start. Once our link is ready, I'll send you guys the link. But this is the first step in that plan, which is, or the process to get the plan approved.
How did this get brought forth again?
Senate.
Senate bill from healthcare. Yeah. I don't know the original source of the lobbying for the healthcare, but yep, Senate bill. So that's where we're at. So staff recommends approval of our workplace violence prevention plan.
I move that we approve the workplace violence prevention plan.
What if we, wait, I have to go.
In further discussion.
What if we said no?
So much like Title IX or our injury and illness prevention plan, if you're found out of compliance with it, you can get fined, you can get, eventually shut down. There is some really interesting thing happening with this and OSHA, because they don't completely align, so that's kind of fluttering it out a little bit, because OSHA, you have this federal guidance on how we take care of the health and safety of our employees. There's a couple rubs here, but that's really for the attorneys to figure out. But yeah, fining and auditing, and then usually the first thing is they'll come back in 6 months, make sure you fix everything. If you haven't, then there's like another layers of state oversight. Yeah.
So, well, I guess I'm kind of confused.
We have to have it.
Yeah, we can't say no.
We can say we don't like things in it. Change it, but
Well, I think just based on what you had commented, like, do you need another layer of box checking? You know,
No, but the Senate likes to give
and
us
making,
stuff.
what's that?
I said, no, but the Senate likes to give us stuff.
Yeah, it
So-
wasn't something I would have.
There's no money attached to it, and what's if we said we don't care about this workplace violence prevention plan?
Right, so if you're a state funded agency and you're not aligned with the state, they can fine you or hold back state dollars. So that's the sort of the carrot and the stick.
So how much dollars would they withhold?
I don't know. I'm a rule follower, Susan. Follow the rules.
No, I'm just trying to take one rule off that
I
you don't
know,
have to follow.
I know.
It's like
Maybe
1,000
different
rules that you're already following.
I know, oh yeah.
I need 1,001.
Yeah, they were highly criticized, especially of the timing of it too, because you have your budgets coming in, you have your LCAP rolling in, there's a new LCAP template, and then they roll this on top of it, and people were like, are you
Rolling
kidding?
their
So,
eyes.
so the state is required.
Yes.
Yeah. well, the Senate, California Senate used to only be half-time, half the year. And then they went full-time.
They don't have anything else to do.
Right.
but impose
So
it on people.
they're full-time and they have to feel like they're doing, in my opinion, doing something.
Well,
So they
I'm
pass
not
bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
And another one.
I didn't vote for it, but thank you, but I will implement.
Trustee Wright,
Aye.
trustee Brenda, trustee Ross,
Aye.
trustee Goodstein.
Aye.
Trustee Fritz, motion passes.
Did somebody second?
I did.
Yes.
Oh, good. okay.
Susan, it's okay to
I feel-
vote no on
I feel
things.
better.
You could have voted no.
Well, and then I'm gonna be Mrs. State non-compliant.
No.
Okay.
Oh, you are a rule follower too.
You're,
It's still passed.
you're in favor of workplace violence.
All right, that's how it gets turned around.
Yeah, I know.
That is exactly how it does.
Right.
You must really, not care about this.
Yeah.
Moving on, 11.3, local performance indicator, self-reflection, California's accountability system in 2024.
So another aspect of the LCAP is we always talk about the 8 state priorities. And so the overarching part of the LCAP is that we're meeting the needs of students through giving them access to state standards. We're engaging with families. We have a positive school climate. And so separate from the plan, we are required to write this document that addresses and we measure if we meet or don't meet the area. The only areas that you'll see kind of a not meet is one of them talks about some things that are just not applicable to us, like if it's something like a high school dropout rate, obviously. But then also just certain broad course scope where we're not in like an international baccalaureate school or something like that, but we offer or not a dual immersion school. So there's some things around language. But for the most part, we meet all the aspects, and it's something that we will bring back next meeting for approval. Because it actually has to be, it will be here. You guys approving this lets me submit it now to the state. So I have a separate portal I submit to the state, and then it weirdly has to also be agendized with the approval of the LCAP as well. So you'll see it one more time, but I am asking you to approve it this time so that I can just move forward getting everything submitted after you approve.
Yeah, make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Castillo.
Aye.
Trustee Frank. Trustee Wright.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
It's an amazing amount of work for the LCAP.
For $135,000.
Yeah, that is, I will say, because I wrote the LCAP in Paso, and at least it was millions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I remember like, just, and we still only had 4 goals though. I mean, so it was, yeah, so that's been a really interesting quagmire is, wow, 135,000, huh?
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's still,
Is there like thousands of people looking at this stuff? I mean, you submit it. Every school has all this? That's a lot of info.
it's a lot of info. Typically what happens is, I mean, obviously the state can audit in any way they'd like, but our big thing is turning it into the county. They actually do have people who read through every single word of the document, and give feedback. They've already seen our draft. They'll give feedback again once it's approved. And it's usually small little changes here or there, but nothing substantive.
Yeah.
Like, so that's fine.
Okay.
11.4 MOU between Coast Unified and Cayucas for psychologist services for the school year 24-25.
This gives us a psychologist and director of special education for basically 1 day a week. I will say in the placements that we have, it does require a contact, especially with the heightened funds that are being utilized and navigation around a non-public placement. Also, the individual has done incredible work with our staff for years and years. And I highly recommend this. It's a great partnership with Coast, and it allows for us to have a highly qualified person who knows our kids in our community. And I'd like to continue it.
I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between Coast Unified School District and Cayucas Elementary School District for psychologist services for the school year 24-25.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Trustee Ross.
Aye.
Trustee Castillo.
Aye.
Trustee Frank. Trustee Wright.
Aye.
And Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
11.5 approval of resolution 2406-01. Resolution reflecting consolidation of election.
So this is required by the county, and I don't mean the County Office of Education, but the County of San Luis Obispo, to bring a resolution forward to the board that looks at our election cycle and the formalization of having our seats open for the board. It also, by our bylaw, has to articulate how someone qualifies for the governing board and be transparent and open to the public in this forum to let them know about the order of elections, when they're going to take place and the process. And so last time we said, hey, this is coming up, but we don't have any information. Literally like 3 days later, we got all the information. So that's why it's on this agenda here. They still have not set a date for the county office training or informational meeting, but this is the clerk's office that requires us to do this resolution. If you want, you can look at the resolution. It's the same one that happens, I believe it's every 2 years on our cycle of open seats.
And included in this item is the timeline from the county.
Yeah.
And also the link for the fillable, if you want to.
Yes, so it's there, if either of you would like it, it's right there. So you'll see that June 28th is the county superintendent of schools notifies the school district in writing of the order of consolidation, which basically says, hey, now you've officially accepted this, here are the open positions within your area. So it's this formalized process that occurs. Then you will see July 8th through August 7th is the county elections office shall publish the notice of election for each district. And that will show all of those particulars. July 15th through August 9th is the nomination period, unless there's insufficient nominees. August 9th is the last day for districts to file the resolutions for this consolidation. And August 10th through the 14th is the extended filing period. So that's where if you are an incumbent, right? Isn't that the one, Chris?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay. If an incumbent officer does not file a declaration of candidacy by August 9th, any other person other than the incumbent may file. Oh, yeah, that's where it opens up a little window
Another
for
week.
other people. Yeah. Because they kind of waited out to see if the incumbent's gonna file, then they post who's filed, then they have a week to say, oh, okay, maybe now we want to or not.
Right, but if the incumbent files, that doesn't happen.
Correct.
That extra week.
Yep, you're right. Thank you. And then August 12th is the last day for the candidates to withdraw, or their statement of qualifications will be published, even if they decide they don't want to run. So it's all right there, nicely articulated. Staff does recommend approval. It will have to be a roll call vote, but that's okay because we do roll call votes for the resolution 2406-01, the resolution of the governing board of Cayugas, and it is the consolidation with other elections called for in the same date in the same territory, so that we're all gonna have one election.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Great.
I was,
Any further discussion? Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Ross?
aye.
Trustee Castillo?
Aye.
Trustee Brett?
Aye.
Trustee Wright?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, review of action items, tasking and calendar.
Just really quickly, I will be out of the office on Friday for graduation. Most of the calls will go to Liz, but if it's absolutely an emergency, of course, you can always call or text me. But that's where I will be, which will be great. Other upcoming, obviously the LCAP and the budget will come for approval next month or next week. And then as we talked about in closed session, which we can now publicly say for tasking, we will have the MOU with the teachers union on the next agenda, as long as we get the AB 1200 passed by the county, letting them be comfortable with that small increase in health benefits. I don't think anything else, right?
Well, I just want to publicly put it out there. I may or may not be attending next meeting. I will be out of town at a work conference, but depending on how the technology works, I'll try, but it may not work.
And you did most of the heavy lifting today, so hopefully the root canal and the cap folds, and then just putting the replacement on there and we'll be good to go.
I do want to say that the CCAC meeting has been moved. I know we like to go to them from this Wednesday, obviously, because we're having graduation here, to the following.
Yeah.
We usually just switch and do it online, but they've actually changed it to the 12th
Oh.
June, if anybody does want to attend. We haven't assigned anybody because we left the June and July.
It's
ones
June
open.
what?
June 12th.
Okay.
But instead of doing it online, they decided just to move it a week instead, they're liking that in person better.
What time?
I think they're always at 6.
I thought they were 7.
Seven. Okay, on the 12th.
On the 12th, yes.
What,
Just in case anybody.
what about the issue with the reserve level? Is that something we can put
That's
on?
perfect, thank
Right.
you. Chris and I had met and we're discussing budget items on the agenda. And he asked me about the reserve level. Jenny had done a phenomenal job researching it because I kept saying 15 and she's like, your board policy says 10. I'm like, where am I getting 15? I know it. So she did some research. We have a board resolution that was passed in 2019 that says the reserve will be 15. The board policy did not change. When you start to look at the time frame of the 19 turning into the 20, which quickly became March 20th, and schools closed, my assumption is that's probably why the policy didn't change, because we were doing all the other things. So we do need to look at, we could look at, if you'd like, we have to decide really, are we going to rescind the resolution and have it at 10 that abides by the board policy, or are we going to adjust the board policy to have 15? And that would be something we can bring back for a first read in June, no problem.
I wasn't on the board in 19. I was from 10 to 18, but I remember being on the board when we raised it to 15. There was
a common, what is
so
it?
there was another time before then that it was moved.
Yep, it had moved. There was 3 different resolutions, right? that we
5
had.
is what their state requires, 5,
5%?
but 5 is nothing for us. Because they're,
It's scary for us.
yeah, they're 250, 260
Yeah.
something.
So
And,
yeah,
and you can blow through it so quick with just
Well,
what
it's not
happened.
the far, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's 3 weeks. is really what 5% is.
So let's put that, let's bring it back.
So we already passed it? We just have to change the policy?
Yeah, the board policy didn't change. So there's 3 different resolutions that over the course had talked about the flexibility of the board policy and it being up to 15, then back down to 10 during the building of the extra classroom, because there was an adjustment of funds that was made where general fund helped pay for those classrooms. But the policy itself didn't change. So my recommendation would be that we bring back a board policy. It's sounding to me, and obviously you guys can make a decision when it's in front of you, but it's sounding to me like the staff direction might be to consider the 15. And then you guys can talk it out at that point.
It seems like that's what saved us.
Yes, I would definitely support that.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so next meeting, we'll have that.
Okay.
So we'll bring the resolution. board
Nope,
policy.
just the board policy. Board policy. Yep.
Anything else? All right, we are adjourned, 7:51.